artificial intelligence will completely transform our world. But what is AI? Why will it affect you? And how can you and your business survive and thrive through the AI revolution? Welcome to AI and You. Here is your host, author, speaker, and futurist, Peter Scott.
Hi, this is episode 252. This week, I'm talking about AI in customer service. This theme came to me while I was experiencing the new way that parking was being managed at the rec center that I use at a university. It used to be you picked up a hang tag from the front desk that was good for 6 months or so, but now there's an app. You have to register, input your contact information, license plate, and various codes on every visit. If you had a particular type of pass, you could get away with doing this just once a month. There was a line of people at the front desk tapping away at their phones to satisfy all these requirements. Now, this is not a woe is me moment, and it's definitely a first world problem, so stipulated. But through the lens of how is customer service evolving, it's significant. We've all experienced this kind of one step forward, two step backward improvement, right? Because, well, here's the university looking at parking enforcement as a revenue center and what can they do to reduce costs. And the most obvious cost is the labor required to go around and inspect all the cars for parking tickets. That cost is dramatically reduced when the customers can put their license plate numbers into a machine or an app, because now the parking enforcement person doesn't have to walk around the cars, just drives by and cameras scan the license plates and match them against the database. Yay, costs saved, if only at the expense of the customers taking a little longer tapping at the parking machines. Presumably, even less cost if one day they figure out how to do this with drones flying around looking at the car plates. But, problem, what about those folks with the hang tags for free parking? Well, those can't work with the drive-by cameras. But now it gets exponentially harder, because whereas the paper hang tags couldn't readily be copied, any digital equivalent could be. Think this through and you end up with solutions that inflict significantly more inconvenience on every customer, but those are not visible on the balance sheet that shows the cost savings of outsourcing parking enforcement. And so we end up with another brick, however small, in the wall of modern digital life that ends up separating us from the freedom and ease that we thought all this technology was promising us. But there are a lot of bricks. And one thing we know about AI is that implementing it means that your enterprise does whatever it's been doing all along, only now faster and at scale. And if the enterprise was focused on putting cost reduction ahead of customer experience, that gap will widen. So now we have the promise that chatbots will transform customer service. Large language models will provide superior customer interaction, whether by web or by telephone. They'll answer instantly, always be polite and full of energy, talk with the customer in every known language, make all the information that the customer wants out of the company personalized and accessible to that customer. All of this is provably achievable. So where is it? It's certainly not in the customer service agents I've encountered. Now, granted, if I call customer service, it's not going to be for information that's available on the web, like their location or opening hours. Every interactive voice response, or IVR, system I've encountered is biased towards helping people with those trivial inquiries first. They must get a lot of them. So I end up wading through all of the choices before I hear the one that will connect me with a live person who can find out why they've deleted my customer record or something equally weird and unanticipated by the IVR designers. And now there are the chatbot interfaces, which don't give you that hierarchical menu, but instead say, in a few words, tell me why you're calling. Now, be honest, doesn't your heart sink every time you hear that? Wasn't it supposed to be the other way around? But do you instead find you're talking with something that's as bad as the most unhelpful human operators you've dealt with? The ones who won't put you through to a manager or someone else who can help no matter what. We're suffering the race to the bottom dynamics in customer service. Even if a company has already saved $1 an hour per agent by switching from humans to AI, if their AI service provider offers an even cheaper model that'll save another 2 cents an hour, they're going to take that. What COO wants to be in the conversation where they're asked, "So I understand you had the opportunity to save costs and didn't take it. Can you explain that?" "Well, we chose the model that we believed would provide more customer satisfaction." "Oh, where is that customer satisfaction quantified? How much is that worth to the bottom line? Where is your evidence that the cheaper model would have been substantially worse?" And so on. You can hear this played out in quotes from executives like Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella saying, quote, "We ourselves are on course to save hundreds of millions of dollars in our own customer support and contact center operations," referring to the impact of AI copilots in the company's service workflows. And a recent study from IDC found that, on average, companies realize $3.70 in returns for every $1 invested in generative AI, but neither of these quotes says anything about how the customer experience is changing, whether it's getting better or worse. And the retailer Target also frames it in terms of their revenue by saying that generative AI leads to increased sales conversions and smart cross-selling. At least the Chief Digital and Technology Officer at Air India, Dr. Satya Ramaswamy, said that generative AI, quote, "is very valuable to us to improve the responsiveness to the customer, as well as reducing the cost of supporting customer queries," end quote. But all this leads me to put a large "work in progress remains to be seen" sign on AI in customer service. Bottom line, pun may be intended, this situation is another place in which corporate values are reflected. As Dan Turchin, CEO of PeopleRain and host of the AI and the Future of Work podcast, who was on this show in episodes 122 and 123, says, "A company's customer experience will never be better than their employee experience." How many companies have transparently crappy employee experiences? Just check out Glassdoor. Bottom line, is a company's customer service really about serving customers or just managing transactions? There was an example from ye olden days of how a different ethos could prevail in customer interaction when the company culture was different. And this one showed up in software development and error messages from an application. Commentator Steve Uerlein quoted an error output by one app, quote, "This humble program is devastated to report that it cannot accept the value of 200 for scale because the base and thoughtless programmer who implemented this program has thoughtlessly limited the value of scale to between 0.01 and 100.0. I implore your worthiness to reduce the scale and run this miserable program again." End quote. Love it. Guess what? People were enthusiastic to do QA for this program just to find out what other error messages they could get it to emit. Yes, that's more typing for the programmer, but you can imagine it being worth the trouble, can't you? And these days, it doesn't even have to take that much more time. Just ask an LLM to rewrite every error message using that kind of language. That's a use of AI I'd like to see. Okay, this sounds a lot like an extended "get off of my lawn" rant. It's the price of progress, Peter. Stop complaining. Well, hold on. Progress for whom? These systems are progress for the companies deploying them, there's no doubt about that. But if that doesn't mean progress for me, if they make my life harder instead, that doesn't count. That's indisputable. If they make part of my life easier, but another part harder, then we have to do some math to see if we come out ahead. Certainly we can argue that the parking app makes my life easier in the situation where I've misplaced the hang tag. But that's about it. This is reminiscent of another incursion of automation into our lives, the self-checkout. Maybe you're thinking by now that I must be opposed to them on the grounds that they deprive us of human contact. No. Why are you going to the supermarket for human contact? That seems a singularly poor choice for a meaningful interaction. I'd sooner have my time freed up for more intentional interactions than ones that are occurring as a byproduct of something else that I'm doing. But I am opposed to self-checkouts because they're slower than human ones. Once again, the automation has resulted in progress for a corporation at my expense. no self-checkout is anywhere near as fast as a human checker. Not just because I'm not trained in those swooping hand motions or punching in the produce codes, but for the more obvious reason that the self-checkouts don't have conveyor belts. Nevertheless, I usually choose the self-checkout so that I get out quicker. Now, that's not a contradiction. The store has balanced the lanes so that there's a shorter wait for the self-checkout. So they have artfully created a situation where people choose self-checkout to save time and may then believe that automation has improved their life. But they'd be out even sooner if the line for the human checker was shorter. We are not fooled. Anyway, if anything should work as a use case for generative AI, it's customer service. Providing a conversational interface to the corporate knowledge base, personalized by customer, honed on reams of data that capture their preferences. Think about everything you could extrapolate from Amazon shopping orders and Netflix views. AI that can read your emotions and adjust its response accordingly. And yet, we end up with cases like Air Canada's chatbot that told a customer they would provide refunds for bereavement travel after the flight is booked when their policy stated elsewhere on their website is the opposite. And when confronted with the evidence, claimed that the chatbot, quote, is responsible for its own actions, end quote, snark. Fortunately for the customer, a judge set Air Canada straight on what their responsibilities really are. But why do we hear about that and not stories about how wonderful chatbots are for customers? Of course, there's a bias in the news selection. If we do some research, we can find, for instance, that AT&T uses generative AI in its call centers to predict the reason for a customer's call and assist agents. If the AI determines a caller's issue can be self-served, it routes them to automated options. About 50% of callers are fine with self-service, allowing human agents to focus on more complex issues. As a result, quote, our customer care experience has gone way up and the employee experience is far better because they have more accurate, more holistic information about the customer, end quote. However, that quote is from Kellen Smith-Kenny, who was the Chief Marketing and Growth Officer at AT&T, so it hardly counts as an impartial analysis. A report that sounds more candid comes from United Airlines, which has integrated generative AI to assist customer service agents during calls. The AI listens to customer inquiries and suggests helpful responses in real time, acting as a co-pilot for the agent. United's executives admit that past chatbots were, quote, terrible, but they expect generative AI to, quote, fix it, and are, quote, really upping the game on their AI chatbot so travelers can resolve issues without needing a live agent. This is aimed at reducing traveler frustration and wait times during flight disruptions or routine inquiries. Of course, that's not independent either. You can find plenty of stories like that of applications which are on the way, like Best Buy, which is rolling out a generative AI-powered virtual assistant to help customers troubleshoot electronics, reschedule deliveries, manage service subscriptions, and more. And Morgan Stanley, which has piloted a GPT-4-powered assistant for its 16,000 financial advisors. And Wendy's, which has piloted an AI drive-through agent that takes customer orders in a natural, conversational manner and shaved 22 seconds off order times. So maybe I'm just being impatient. What do you think? It's certainly a focus of attention. Customer service has leapfrogged other functions to become CEO's #1 generative AI priority, with 85% of executives believing that AI will be directly interacting with their customers in the next 2 years. Now, if we look further ahead to what AI could do with customer service, well, the sky's hardly the limit. Speaking of skies, United Airlines Chief Digital Officer envisions using AI to, quote, anticipate what you're going to need when you arrive and solve your problem before you have it. Talking mainly about situations where a flight is cancelled. We can imagine turning the support model on its head and having agentic AI that proactively seeks out and fixes problems or reaches out to the customer. For instance, Salesforce's upcoming Agentforce AI can take action without waiting for human prompts and carry out advanced planning and reasoning to solve customer requests. And if we integrate AI with XR and AR, And how about automated customer service that helps you use or fix the thing you've bought by looking at it with you? If you haven't tried the video option in advanced voice mode in GPT 4.0, it's really useful for that. I've literally pointed my phone at a machine I found in a classroom, asked, "What is this and how do I turn it on?" and gotten a precise and correct answer with a model number and instructions. And there should be no more reason for the human customer service agents to be inadequately trained, given the use of AI for training and coaching, like generating dynamic role-play simulations and rare case scenarios to better prepare agents. For example, companies can use generative models to create lifelike customer inquiries across different moods, languages, or complexities, and let new hires practice responding. IBM predicts all talent development will benefit from AI, and in customer service, training will see specific benefits by simulating unique situations so representatives become more adept at handling anything. Beyond training, AI co-pilots can observe live interactions and coach agents in real time. So like I said, maybe I'm just too impatient and a new era of customer care is right around the corner. What do you think? In today's news ripped from the headlines about AI, a report from Europol, the European Union's law enforcement agency, says that serious and organized crime is accelerated by AI and other new technologies. Criminals can use large language models to craft messages in multiple languages, target victims with precision on a global scale, create sophisticated malware, and produce child sexual abuse material. The addition of AI-powered voice cloning and live video deepfakes amplifies the threat, enabling new forms of fraud, extortion, and identity theft. From automating phishing campaigns to executing large-scale cyber attacks, AI enables criminals to achieve more, reach more victims, be more targeted in their approach, and expand their global reach with fewer resources. The report concludes, quote, "To counter the growing threat of AI-enabled crime, policymakers, law enforcement agencies, and the technology sector must collaborate to develop robust safeguards, consistent regulations, and advanced detection tools. The rapid pace of AI and other innovation demands a proactive approach to ensure that its benefits are not overshadowed by its potential for harm." End quote. Be careful out there, people. Next week, my guest will be Seth Baum, co-founder and executive director of the Global Catastrophic Risk Institute, which works on the risk of events that could significantly harm or even destroy human civilization at the global scale. That's next week on AI and You. Until then, remember, no matter how much computers learn how to do, it's how we come together as humans that matters.
That's all for this episode of AI and You. Please leave a rating and comment and share with your friends. Get the book Artificial Intelligence and You and see more videos and articles at aiandyou.net. That's aiandyou.net, where you can also send us your questions. Thank you for listening.